Hardcore World of Warcraft, where if you die your character is permanently dead, is kicking my arse. I started off thinking I might have some trouble, but it just couldn't be that hard, right? Wrong. I've now lost 4 characters, with my highest only being halfway to level 60, which is a level cap. I've died early on at Skull Rock. I've died in a duel to the death. I've died falling off thunder. Oh wait, I don't want to remind myself of that. That was tragic. I'm struggling, but Antijax the Gnome Frost Mage was born. And although this race and class combination is the one I loathe the most, the power, I just couldn't deny it. Things was going really well, and I made my way to Darkshore in Kalimdor to finish off a few quests that I had there. I began with a task to take out a large bear that was breeding and eating the citizens of Darkshore, otherwise known as the Den Mother. When I found her lair, she already had some cubs, but thanks to the frost powers, I can root them in place and do what's necessary. We don't want them making it to adulthood, so they have to be put down. Once I've took care of the small ones and turned the mother into a sheep, I wish I could do it permanently, but my gnome powers don't allow that. The mother is now much easier to deal with, and with some frost bolts and a shoot of Cookie's wand from Dead Mines, I take her out, and that should make people feel a little bit better about not being eaten. However, just down from a cave is a Furbolg camp, which are basically bear people, so it just doesn't get better for these guys. If I was the locals, I'd probably think about moving away. I need to raid their storages for some of their supplies to perform a ritual, but as I loot them, I get aggro from a warrior. They're a bit mad. Then all of a sudden, an army of mad Furbolgs are charging at me. Thankfully I saw it coming before it was too late, otherwise that could have been a deadly start to this adventure. Once I get their fruit, it was time to place it by their bonfire, because they don't notice that a gnome is planting down fruit, and that's totally normal to them. They'll smash it down and we cleanse their corruption, and they become friendly to us. Then out comes a demon, a satyr, who's pretty mad that we just took away his army. We kill him with the help of an ugly dwarf female hunter, and we loot the talisman of corruption, freeing the Furbolgs, and within a few minutes, Antijax has done some really good deeds. From there on, we just head further north. I ended up at a tower, the Tower of Aphalax. This place on my road gave me so many deaths when it was a bit later on in normal classic, so I do know how this quest chain plays out, but for now, I don't have to worry too much. We just gotta kill some of the Darkstrand fanatics and loot some warm parchment so we can figure out what their plans are and what they're up to before we then report back to Baffle with it. Then, even further north is one of the final quests. There's a gnome with a pirate's hat. He's called Gelcat Gyromast, and he wants us to get his key that's been broke, and some creatures may have different parts of it. I also see a paladin called Palavzor stood there, so I ask him if he wants to team up for it, but he says he's just not available, sorry. So we find parts of his key scattered around pretty easily. My luck seems to have been quite good on this mage, and we return to the gnome pirate, with our paladin friend still just stood there. We turn it in and he asks us to now go and find his first mate and bring it back to him. We find his first mate further down the coast, which is some sort of mechanical golem, and I stand around waiting for him to start his slow walk. But this escort quest is actually one of the better ones because he runs behind me, so that is a relief. Usually escorts are really slow. Now our paladin friend disappears offline, and it's a really good job he did, is because as soon as I get near the pirate, the golem attacks me. I cast a frostbolt and his HP just doesn't move. This is trouble. I wasn't ready for this just yet, but here I am. Can Antibolt take down this elite too? While using Frost Nova for distance and then Frostbolt to slow him and getting further distance with the ability to blink, this means the golem can never really touch me. I'm sort of a frozen god, at least that's what I'm feeling like. If I can solo these quests, the more abilities I get, surely the more powerful I'm going to become. My damage, although not super high, it's really safe, and we take down the golem. And for our deed, we get 5 elixirs of water breathing, so that we don't drown, because I wouldn't put it past me to go out like that. With our task complete and nothing more for us to do in the north of the zone, it was time to head south. Darkshore is kind of a massive zone, and it's not very wide, but it's very long. God, my maturity is really showing that I found that funny. We get back to town and speak to the residents to let them know of our heroic deeds, and our gold income was starting to increase too. I was starting to feel the real progression of my mage. I had a quick glance at the quest in the southern area of the zone, and I decided not to tackle these for now and head back to the homeland. And that was because I wanted to go and finish off Loch Modan. The thing about questing in Classic WoW is you could technically be done with the zone, only for some quests to be of a much higher level. So you really end up coming back and forth to zones you've already been to, if you want to of course. And I love changing up the scenery. So we swapped the dark forest of Darkshore to the luscious green Loch. I was in some excavation ruins where the Trogs have took over and took most of the relics that the dwarves had been mining, and these guys really did hurt. Thankfully I had plenty of health potions, but one thing that truly hinders a mage is a mana bar. If that hits 0, you are in big trouble. so chugging down the drinks to keep it up is part of the trade-off for that frozen goodness. While I was exploring the area collecting the relics, I turned the corner and see 3 trogs stood there. One of them is the boss Galgosh, a rare creature. Now I know I can handle elites, but can I handle 3 of these ugly things at once? Of course I've got my trusty pet chicken with me. I open with a polymorph on one of them while slowing the boss with a frostbolt. As they reach me, I freeze the earth around me, rooting them in place. My plan is to focus down their leader first, and my damage felt actually a lot better versus this guy than it did with the golem. I guess he just didn't have as much health, and we slay him. I level up to 22 in the process, and now I'm the leader of the trogs. I'm only joking, they'd probably eat me first try if they really could. I teamed up with a band of adventurers to storm the Mograss stronghold where ogres dwell. With 2 warriors, 2 mages, and a pretend warrior, we ransacked the place, killing all of them, no mercy. We went deep into the cave looking for their leader Choksoul, and we had 2 missions. One was to destroy their forces, and the other was to make sure we leave with Choksoul's head. I throw out a polymorph and the fight begins. Between us 5, there is nothing that can really stop us, and with high damage it's really not long before we kill their leader and the ogres are left now to fend for themselves. We say our goodbyes to our group and go our separate ways. Now a question I've covered a lot on the channel on the Alliance side is a dark threat looms. It's a really fun one to do and I always make sure I do it. It starts off atop of the dam where you basically have to kill some dark iron dwarves and figure out what's going down, which then leads you to having to leave the loch to find an expert in some strange smelling powder. One of the quests is in Dullagaz. The orcs have set up a camp here, raiding and killing travellers and merchants as they cross between the zone of wetlands and the loch. It's too dangerous for the guards to get to, so you're kinda left to fend for yourself. So obviously it's down to us to then take these out. Now these orcs don't really care about my frost roots and slows, as they're more of bow shooters, which could be sketchy. They're also at a decent level too, and if they resist a single sheep spell, I can sorta get myself in trouble. On top of that, out of absolutely thin air, I get shot from behind too, and it seems that he's just spawned from nowhere, and now I'm pinned in. I pop a health potion and decide to do something really stupid. I chase a mob that's on low health to try and finish it off. I run in and kill him, but the polymorph then breaks, and I'm still being shot with my health now really low. I blink away, but by doing this I blinked up the mountain and I ended up pulling another orc shooting a bow and arrow, and I go down to 1 health from their damage, and this is it. I'm dead, I've accepted it. But I use a bag of marbles, which reduces the orc's chance to hit me by 25%, and then the killing arrow on me misses. I run for my life, no mana, no health, and that was way too close for comfort. If I didn't use that bag of marbles, I died. On top of that, if he didn't miss his arrow, I died. It just shows you how just one simple mistake, it claims your life, but Antibold survives. Now most people would run, realizing, okay, that was way too close, but not Antibold. He had to make it safe for everybody. He was willing to risk it all, and by now playing it a lot slower and safer, picking them off one by one and being aware of his surroundings, while trying his best to be, he carried on taking down their orcs. I really need to stop greeding my health potions up, because 1 crit and I die is a really bad habit that I need to get rid of. After leaving there, I forget that Blood Elves are not in Classic and it's High Elves, and they all have this really weird kind of model. Viren gives us a task to get revenge and kill a bear called Ol Suti. Now for some reason I didn't clip it, but I found this belt, the Stormbringer Belt of a Boar, and that is I think one of my first and only blue rare items. I'm really hoping it can sell for some gold because this will come in handy. As I approach the bear's den, I join a group with Palapapa and Mylu. Then Bummalum joins too. What a nice bunch of names. While waiting, I decide to see if I can take on the elite for myself too. Then they can come and loot his head. It's the same strategy of hitting frostbolts, kite with my root, and then just make it so the bear can't hit me. However, he's got a lot of health and my blue bar is running down. I do see Palapapa is close by, so I just start kiting him towards the paladin, who throws out a last minute stun, but the bear is going to fall. And I just proved I can practically do anything. I decide to embrace my inner gnome now too, as gnomes are always freaky little things and I need to keep that going. So I end up being in perfect height with the bear after looting it. Now make of this what you wish. I say it smells like strawberries and Palapapa says,
"Isn't it beaver?"
I reply with no clue, but it's nice. So the human paladin takes a kneel and this has just gone south really fast. Funny enough, if I lie down it looks like the bear has got me in its mouth and I don't know what this is, but this happened. We killed Ol Suti's twin brother, Ol Suti 2, and Mylu embraced the inner bear as well. And I don't know what happened, but my gnome then found all the freaky stuff that WoW has to offer. As we met Have Some Ass. The rogue explained the name means the mobs always kill her and get some ass, and she's on her 8th row. Yeah, 8th. God damn. Then a mage called Moraine offers me some free enchants, and I mean, I am definitely not saying no to some of them. She gives me some health on my braces, resistance for my cloak, and health on my chest. What an absolute legend. And I was thinking, what a lovely day this has been so far. Then as I'm running to leave the zone, a human female called Terror just laughs at me. Why? I was just passing, and I even gave her a buff. So I whisper her and asked, why are you laughing? Do you want some? To which she replies,
ugly gnome.
How dare you? I tell her I'm not ugly, I'm perfect, and just look at this face. How could you not love it? And Terror just made an enemy. I asked him for a fight to the death, but he replied with,
I don't macro gnome, I won't be that low. It's like bullying kids.
Wow, it's weird to be on this side of gnome hate. I'm usually one that hates on them. I can't let my view on them be tainted by playing one though. I know what these creatures are. After spending a bloody arm and a leg on spells, things like teleport to Ironforge, which is just an insane ability to have in Classic, being able to port around the world is just so handy. But 27 silver a time, sheesh. Also, I realised I didn't have Cold Snap on my bars. This is an ability that completely refreshes all my frost spells, so that would have given me double roots, so it's very, very strong. As time went on, I headed to Stormwind where a kind max level mage was offering their services for free. Now don't worry, these services are perfectly legal. She gave me a lot of water and said put it in your bank for when you get to level 25. That'll do, what a kind fellow. And she also made me a portal to Darkshore completely free too. I offered to pay but they refused. I realised I wanted to go and finish Darkshore now and then head off to Ashenvale. So it's time to tackle the southern parts of the zone, where a giant ancient tree awaited us called anew. And I picked up a quest, which was an escort quest, and I didn't read it properly. I just had a little glance and that was a mistake as I run with him out of town before he then does a yawn at me and I realised I forgot to pick up the thing that awakes him. So I rush back to town to go and grab it and I fail the escort quest. And now he's not here now for God knows how long. Well done Antijax, well done. Antibold found a night elf deer creature who needed help escaping the cultists. I mean, you could help me fight rather than just walking right by them, but guess not. Oh, you wanted to act like you didn't notice and come at the last second. Yeah, I see right through you. I saw some Furbolgs killing what I thought was an AFK priest, and as I ran to help, he was nowhere to be seen, so I take it he logged off in time too. I would have came to his rescue, but he had it locked down. For some weird reason, I kept on killing Twilight Folks even though I didn't need to, and I ran out of mana and I had 2 of these gnomes on me. There's a lot of people around me and nobody's even offering a hand. It doesn't matter if they're a lower level than me, they hurt a lot. Thankfully, I generate just enough mana at the right time to hit a blink and run the hell away. But once again, another close call. That's too many for the day already. I should have took this as a sign. Something was stirring. We met a dwarf at the Rem Travels excavation who wanted help finding a relic. And does this guy help me fight mobs? Nope. Apparently if I attack them first, they couldn't give a shit. He takes us around the camp, slowly but surely looking for something that is misplaced, and it was a mysterious fossil. We keep getting attacked by Greyfling scouts as we go further around the camp, and after a solid 5 to 6 minutes, I approach what I thought was the end surely. I'm attacking them as much as I can. I'm trying to help this guy, but he's got basically a negative amount of health. I poly the Geomancer and he just breaks it and then dies. So now we got to do that all over again. And mind you, I took you through that quickly. This guy makes me clear out the whole camp basically, and it takes a while. So now that's like 2 or 3 escorts failed. I stood around for another 10 minutes waiting for that dwarf to appear who does out of absolute thin air with the quest again. And although he didn't want to speak to me for some reason, probably because I let him die, I forgot it's just because I didn't abandon the quest I failed. Oh well, I decided to help him out again. This time I just made sure that he never gets hit basically, and that was a job well done. We just had a few more quests to finish off now in Darkshore, and the sweet quest log being fully green gives me such a huge dopamine hit. Unfortunately, only wanted us to collect some relics, which is right at the top of the map again, but I needed to head back north anyway to turn in the remainder of the quests that I'd done. One quest I turned in had a sentinel come charging saying, "There's help needed in Ashenvale," and he says, "Some adventurers here could probably help you out." She said she will remain here as long as she can to find a worthy few to help her. Hello, I'm here jumping. I've took care of every zone's problem. Do you not want my help? No? Oh well, what a nasty night elf. I give it a finger and we move on. The next day I logged on and my blue belt has sold for a total of 10 gold, which puts me now at 15 gold. That's a huge amount to have so early on. The final quest for me to do was to escort that sleeping druid that I failed earlier. This time I picked up the horn, so when he decides to take a random nap in the middle of a forest, I blow on it and wake him up. Now it wouldn't be an escort quest without some sort of ambush, and now it's Furbolgs. They actually hurt really hard and cast some spells like lightning bolt, and then I get earth shock straight after, making it close again. But thanks to having a stash of healing potions in my bag, I drink one, meaning I survive. But this is still scary. And honestly, I think I messed up and he died, but I gave up with that stupid escort quest as I just failed at them, and I didn't want to die to an escort. The next zone for me to tackle was Ashenvale. Night elf music plays and it's such a cozy zone and I love coming here. Except for these murlocs. All of a sudden, everything was killing me. Not to mention that these murloc oracles also heal to full with one spell. And they've got an Earthshock ability of some sorts. He does so much damage even after I've used a health potion. And I was trapped with murlocs everywhere. Using my frozen spells, I do manage to survive, but I was still not heeding the glaring warning signs that was showing. I leveled up to 24 and was getting deeper into that frost tree. However, I was starting to get a little bit tired of just casting Frostbolt. And I was getting very tempted by the thoughts of being a fire starter, a fire mage. I had to take out so many murlocs in search of a gem that had been stolen here, and it has a pretty poor drop chance. But Antibald was a trooper and never quit, and grinding creatures was a great source of experience, so after around 15 minutes I looted the gem and headed to the coast. Now the coast is full of Nagas and I'm a little bit of a higher level than these guys, so I wasn't worried at all. I also joined a group for the dungeon Black Fathom Deeps, which I had plenty of quests for, and after looting an ancient statuette, I took it to Talon, who's actually a nice fellow, and on my horde characters I kill him over and over. Kinda feel bad now, he's just an antique collector really. Then he gives me a quest to go up north and loot a skull. I've slowed this down a little bit as look how red this part of the map is, it's a death zone. But being still in my go rush mentality after just speedrunning Missa Pandaria 2, wasn't really paying attention. I arrived at Zoramstrand looking for Ruzel, but she was nowhere to be seen until she spawns on top of me. With confidence I started the fight by polymorphing one of the Nagas and frostbolting Ruzel. She's not taking as much frost damage from my spells as I thought, so I try and play safe here, and I should have used my ability Cold Snap to get a second Nova just to secure the kill, but I didn't. I'm still casting frostbolts as much as I can, but I'm starting to see my health go low. So I cancel my cast and I try to get distance and I get absolutely blasted with damage and I have a bleed on me. I blink away and I go to use mana shield, but it's too late and I die. Yeah, I died. I let my group know I won't be joining them for that dungeon anymore. And this just really hurt. 15 gold in the bag, making good progress, just to die to a quest because I didn't know how deadly this area would be. I stopped reading quests and I just kept rushing through the game. And because of that, I died. People told me Classic WoW isn't hard, it's a knowledge game, and to go slow. So now I had two choices. Quit hardcore and accept defeat, or go one last time, with an emphasis on taking in the story a bit more, and the zones, slowing down, and trying to master it. For what I wanted to be my last attempt at hardcore WoW and making it to the max level of 60, after much pondering and deciding what I should do. Should I be a rogue? No, I died on my rogue more times than I can count. A warlock? No. I decided to go back to the class I enjoyed, the one I thought I'd never die on in the first place, and where I was doing so well on, but I suffered just such stupid deaths every time, and that was a hunter. I also decided to be a night elf, because that was what I originally started off this game as a night elf hunter, and I also still couldn't face the barrens or wailing caverns. This was it. Take it slow, take in the game, and finish hardcore. And as I watched that cutscene take on a purplish tint this time, we are born anew and ready to tackle this obviously dangerous world. Antijax, a night elf hunter. It seems as if a few people have also died, as I saw quite a few night elves around me instantly, as well as a naked one. No idea why, but if you're comfortable, you do you. And I truly meant it, I wanted to take in a bit more of the lore when it came to my quests. The first quest is that the Night Sabers and Thistleborn population have unfortunately gotten out of control, so our job is to cull their numbers, our first task. And I must say, I think night elf females have one of the best shooting animations for the hunter. Melithar Staghelm. I'm pretty sure Staghelms are significant in the night elf stories, gives me a quest to seek out the mysterious woodland protector, Tarandrella. Apparently she's not been here in years, so we need to see what she wants. And then I get to work culling that wildlife population, while also seeing more naked night elves jumping in. What is going on? Dyrania asks us to look for her friend Ivorin, as he hasn't visited her like he usually does, and he usually spends his time in a cave up north where spiders lurk, and she fears something may have happened to him. After taking out the night sabers and bows, we receive some archery training gloves to increase our armor, and we get a follow-up quest. While we only got rid of a few younger creatures, it was time to target some of the elder ones now. Killing them is just a necessary evil, it's just something we gotta do. We locate the Dryad too and ask her why she's here. She tells us something is brewing in Teldrassil and that the peaceful Furbolgs have been corrupted, and that the Grell have too. She thinks it could be something called Felmoss and asks me to gather some to figure out if that's what's causing it. Grell are demons. though, right? Or am I wrong? They look like imps to me, which is the Burning Legion. So why are they here? I'm sure I'll figure it out. Now, to be fair, I thought just auto-attacking these Grelkin would be an easy kill, even with Raptor Strike. I even put Shadow Meld on my boss to use in an emergency, but it turns out you can't use it if you're in combat, so it's a pretty useless ability, isn't it? I would love for you to tell me in the comments if I'm wrong and how I can get good value out of this, because I just don't understand its worth. Once we collect all the Felmoss and hit level 3, we return to the Dryad, who then confirms that's what's corrupting the creatures. She then says if we reach Dolinair to seek out Bearmantle and tell him what we found out. Another night elf who needed our help was Gilshalan. He came here to observe the spiders that are quite small in comparison, and he thinks a world tree is having that effect. So he wants us to get 10 of their venom in the cave to the north, which is where we need to also look for Iveron too. But before I do that, I've been summoned by Ayana, who's teaching all the young night elf hunters. It took me a minute to even figure out where she was because I forgot how to get there, and I spent some time exploring the lodge. But we head up to the top of the tree and we find her in a room. She tells us all about pets and beasts, but she doesn't want to train us in how to use them yet, so you're practically useless. And I got pretty sidetracked by a floating moon. I am telling myself just to slow down and soak it in. After learning how to trap beasts, I actually think it's about time I go north and check out that cave and see if I can find the night elf that's lost too. As I approach a massive cave, I can see the spiders that are hunting outside. Now is the time for me to try and loot their venom sacs, but I might end up damaging them with my arrows and daggers, so it might take a while to gather 10 of them. I look up to my left and I see a night elf sat down at the top of the hill, and it's Iveron. He's in trouble. The matriarch of these spiders, called Giphius, has bitten him very badly. He's been poisoned and he's dying. He tells us to go and tell Diana and she can help him and be quick. Don't worry mate, I got you. With the wildlife now culled and Iveron saved thanks to Diana and us getting her ingredients, one of our last tasks in Shadowglen was to head into that spider cave. We fought a whole army of the green toxic things looking for their nest. Oh, I also found not 1 but 2 bags. Yeah, this character must be blessed. We eventually found the egg nest, but it was guarded by that big spider Giphius. She was too dangerous to stay alive, so we attack her with our bow and arrow, and she's got a cute face actually. First time I saw these models up close. But we kill her anyway. We find all her eggs in the back, we grab one of them and head home. And just when I thought that my task as a fresh night elf was done, at the top of the tower we were sent on a final task to head to a moonwell and fill up a crystal vial. Then we head back to the top of the tree, lovely. We speak to Tenor and Stormgrape, who then tells us a little bit about the lore into night elves and the battle of Mount Hijal. But he tells us we must go and fill up another vial and take it to someone in Dolinair. And after climbing on top of the houses and looking further beyond, well, doing some questionable parkour that probably could end up getting me killed, so that'd be stupid. It was time to leave this place behind us and head out further into the forest. And obviously we have to help a travelling merchant with his delivery. There's just something about leaving Shadowglen through this little gate and you're just into a massive forest that is always breathtaking. My first ever character was a night elf hunter, so this just brings back so many memories. As we arrive, we see an ancient protector who quite literally makes the ground in your interface shake with just his presence. We then speak to Moonrage, who gives us a filled vessel too, and once again tells us that we should go and fill up another one before he'll tell us more. Cyril gives us a task to take her package to Denelin, who resides at the lake further south, and Aphrodis tells us we must seek out the warden at Starbreeze village, as nobody's heard from him in a while. And finally Swiftroot wants us to retrieve his Dreamcatcher from Starbreeze village too, and also slay someone called Lord Melanus, who is a powerful demon that lives in a cave close by the town, and bring back his head. On my way I also encounter a satyr who asked me to bring him some ingredients. Now I probably shouldn't work with this guy, but he's offering me a whole silver coin and some XP, and I'll do anything for that XP. So I went around killing the local owls and spiders, trying to find the ingredients for the satyr, and I don't trust him, but a deal is a deal. I also couldn't find my way into the cave for Lord Melanus at all. I seriously looked around everywhere for it. I was lost, and also getting myself into predicaments by pulling creatures while trying to find it. Play it safe, Antijax, play it safe. There's some Roman night elves too that are on huge sabers, and I can't wait to get one of these either. They want us to clear out some of the Furbolgs, but then I eventually found my way to the cave, as Garpian was trying to trade me something. He then gave me 4 minor healing potions for free and runs off. What a kind fellow. Now for those of you with a sharp eye may have noticed my appearance has just changed and my name has too, and that's totally because I didn't die in that cave to Lord Melodis at level 6 with Garpian standing over my dead body. Nope, didn't happen. So this is the last Jax. After finding the warden, who is basically dead, he tells us to report back his findings. And we also see a night elf called Inch Deep right in front of us, who is also half naked. Seriously, what is with these freaky druids? We loot the Emerald Dreamcatcher and head back to town. Mind you, I felt like everything in Teldrassil was out to get me lately. I needed to make it to level 10 and tame a beast, and that is where things might get easier for us. After filling up the file in the beautiful Moonwell, we returned to the satyr and gave him all of his ingredients. He also says, 3 cheers for the naive and gullible, sorry, I just helped you, whatever. I returned back to the Hunter Trainer and made sure I actually learnt my spells, something I totally didn't forget to do before heading into a cave, and learn Arcane Shot and Hunter's Mark. Now we're talking. With a full quest log complete, I just needed to go back into that cave. Now there was a lot of adventurers around this time, including Inch Deep, so I headed on in. Mobs was already cleared, so this was already looking a little bit safer than last time. Wait, there wasn't a last time, my bad. I looked around for Lord Melanus, but I couldn't see him. But there he was, atop of a ledge. So I kind of just shot him with my bow, realising I've perhaps just done what I did on my mage that caused me to nearly die. And as I patiently wait for him to come around the corner, oh shit, yeah, he's brought friends. He's also turned into a druid too and is charging at me. Now there is 2 imps on me as well as their lord, and in fact, oh crap, I've pulled the whole cave. I take out Lord Melanus by just running and shooting him, using something called stutter stepping, but now I have to somehow survive all the imps. Inch Deep isn't helping and would rather me die, and I jump into the water and I barely escape the imps. I look at chat and someone called Lucky Dragon has said,
Dudes, I'm gonna. Wait.
So I whisper him saying, huh? And I make sure I don't forget to loot the head. Inch Deep was definitely going to let me die, and Lucky Dragon then said,
Voice overlay says you pulled everything on top of me.
Yeah, it was a stupid thing I did, but I asked him what he means voice overlay. Turns out he's got some sort of text to speech on, so when he typed all that stuff before, it was him trying to say dudes to try and speak to us, then he freaked out in real life because of all the mobs he saw coming for me. It's pretty funny, to be fair. I apologised to him for the jump scare and him getting a little bit of aggro, and thankfully everybody made it out of the cave. Note to self, never snipe a creature on a higher up floor in a cave ever again. So after speaking to the satyr once more, I headed back to town, and hopefully nobody realised that I worked with him, because that would be, oh shit, someone snitched. She says the councillor found out that I worked with him and I've now got to redeem myself by taking him some fell cones. Great, now I'm being punished. I loot some of them that are just laying around trees, and I guess if they got fell in them, they probably should be removed by now, but oh well. I give them then to the satyr, and who's gullible now, Mr. Frog? I probably should just squish you. It was a brand new day and the sun was shining. That nighttime purple glint for a more greener setting kicked in now, and I headed to Lake Alameth and spoke to Denalan. He noticed that the Timberlands had also got really angry lately and wanted us to gather some seeds from around the lake to study them. Once I've done his first task, he asked me then to take one of the seeds to Darnassus, the Night Elf capital. But I needed to go back to Starbreeze village and its surrounding areas to take on some more of the corrupt Furbolgs and one of their lieutenants, Ferocitus, the Dream Eater. We then got his necklace that he was using to command the other Furbolgs and took out the rest of the camp, and that's job done. We returned the necklace to Swiftfruit, level up to 8, and not long now before we get our first pet. But my inexperience in hardcore WoW would now take me to Banethel Hollow, one of the dens of all these Furbolgs. Now I'm solo on my own and going into caves has not been kind to me, so how would I fare in a whole bloody den? Well, I take my time, slowly moving through. If I pull 2 mobs, I focus on one and use Concussive Shot, a slow that I've learned to take the least amount of damage possible. And I kite my way through the dead Furbolgs that I took out. As I make my way further in, I needed to collect idols and druid items that have been left here, and I found a spot where I could take advantage of the NPC's pathing. By jumping up and down, they really won't get a chance to hit me, and I can kite them really well. But I came in pretty unprepared, and I'm really low on food and water supplies, so I just had to play it slow. I could not afford to die once more. And as I got even further into the den, I make sure that I had to have full HP and mana before continuing, but one pull ended up being more than I bargained for, with it pulling 3 Furbolgs. I did my usual kiting, which meant I didn't take damage, but then what I feared would happen happened. Respawns. I spent so long going slow that the whole den before me had respawned. There's no way out now. I either fight or I die. Well, I choose to run actually.
Run.
I shoot, I run through the whole den, one by one, with a whole army behind me. I've got 1 health potion, so I have to use it wisely. I swivel and swerve through all of the Furbolgs as I try and run to the entrance. I pop my health potion, and if I get slowed once, I'm dead. I actually somehow managed to run all the way through and all the way to the outside, but it's not quite over yet. They're charging me down and I have to use Concussive Shot wisely, and my HP gets really, really low, and there is 500 of them behind me, but I somehow escape with my life again. Alright, I am not going into caves alone ever again. With another very close call behind me, I decide not to tempt fate, wait until I can find a group for that den. I was in a bit of a pickle. I was too low for most of the Darnassus quests, it felt like, as they were supposed to be for like roughly like 10 onwards, and I couldn't do the cave without some friends either. So I found a weird glowing fruit tree just in the open, and it turned out to be a quest, so I best take this to someone and hope that they reward me. I took it to our friend Danilin by the lake, and he gives me just 850 XP for it. Oh, but he then plants it summoning little boglings too, and their first steps into this world are quickly their last steps as we just kill them. I am a monster. We returned to Moonrage and give him the file that we've been filling up, but as you could have guessed, he wanted us to fill up some more. Can you not just tell me the whole story in one go? You really need me to risk my life filling up your glasses so you can tell me how I came to be. I'll tell you how I came to be. My gnome mage died, that's how. It was a lonely road and I couldn't find anyone for relics even though I was searching, and I wasn't sure where to quest, so I just started killing things. I found a Furbolg camp and took them out and got their treasure chest, which had a whole silver bar in it. I swear I always find silver bars. And I made my way to the lake again. In a cave I saw a mob called Oakenscowl. It's a level 9 elite and it's probably pretty dangerous, so naturally I shoot it and start a fight. I'm doing what looks to be absolutely negative damage and I probably should just run away, but I try it anyways. I use concussive shot to try and kite him as much as I can, and after nearly using my whole mana bar, he eventually does catch up to me. Luckily my ability aspect to the monkey giving me dodge chance means I actually dodge a few hits so I can get more distance on him. All I do is kite and shoot and let my serpent sting slowly poison him to death, even though my damage is pretty minimal. I actually pulled a second Timberling too, which is just my luck, as Oakenscowl was getting really low, but the other Timberling was like, nah, I ain't doing this, and runs off. And I took down a level 9 elite, and I get a grey staff, no quest item, no nothing. So I hit level 9 and decided I'm gonna have to go to the capital now. And that's not such a bad thing as we enter the beautiful city of Darnassus. It's always amazed this place, but the one thing I always remember is where the Nightsabers are. I speak to Relian and give him the Timberling seed that we got from the lake, and he tells us to collect some mossy tumors from the Timberlings that can't be helped. We then speak to the priestess, who asked us to end someone called Lady Sapphira's suffering. Apparently they've gone mad and they were beloved by the night elf god Alune, so I'll just do what I must. I also encounter a high elf or a blood elf male that I've never seen before, the Apprentice Watcher. As I speak to him, he tells me he will write my story for as long as I survive, but if I was to fall, that nobody would even know I existed. This gives me the Soul of Iron buff, and it's just a little cosmetic thing that turns me grey every now and then, but wow, never existed? Harsh. A little while later I found a full party to take on that Furbolg den with, Abby, Silver and Paul. Silver seems to know the way around this place and we just follow her. With 2 hunters, a druid and a rogue, these furry guys stood no chance, and we dispatched of everything rather easily. Inside the den was a sleeping druid too. The Furbolg had stole his body and he was using his body as a weapon. So he tells us, alright, just go ahead and kill my body, it's all good. Wow, that's dark. You don't even want us to try and find another way, you just want us to kill you? Alright, if you're sure. He's only in the next room and Rageclaw comes at us and we slay him. That escalated really fast. We use a voodoo charm to at least release his body and maybe he can find some peace in the future. I then logged off after finishing the quest and came back a few hours later, and I don't know what it is about me, but death seems to follow me everywhere. A poor night elf hunter is literally dead exactly where I logged on, so please don't be one of them signs. Well, it was a sign. Here's me playing with death while a high level priest decided to heal me at the last second. I gambled with a heal over time tick renew what would hit me first, the heal or the mob. Why do I do this? Why do I play so stupidly? I had a health potion but I forgot about it and I nearly died to a single Timberling. This is why I didn't want to venture up here just yet, because I knew it would be dangerous. And as we approach the final moon well, we see a sentinel there who needs our help. The harpies around her have made a lot of nests, and when she tried to send a messenger, they were savagely killed. She wants us to kill the harpies and bring back their belts, but being so close to level 10, I decide right now is not the best time. It's better for me to grind on mobs, hit that sweet level of 10, and now get the hunter's class's strongest ability. And that ability is a pet. Now, after running back and forth from Darnassus and taming a few creatures to prove that we could, we needed a pet of our own. And I just didn't want any old standard owl or cat, I wanted a rare one. I've heard tales of a ferocious beast that was the alpha of all cats around here. This beast could take on any foe, and it's what I wanted. So I headed to where it was last sighted around the lake. To help me with the task of finding it, I tamed an owl, only temporarily, and I wanted to call him Scout, but I can't for some reason, it doesn't let me. So I just called him Temp. And as I searched the lands for him, I just couldn't find him at all. Rumours must not have been true, this rare creature who must have been really rare. Until I saw it and my rare scanner went off and I was being attacked by Furbolgs. I saw a bigger cat surrounded by all its prey and I went to tame the beast. It hurt me a lot, which was a good sign for me. If it can do this amount of damage to me, it'll become a valuable companion going forward. However, I'm out of luck as I don't have any meat. I call it Duststalker, as I think a creature as rare as that should retain its name. I fed it some spider legs which kept it happy for a short time, but the beast didn't know how to use its claws efficiently, so I put it in my stable until I could teach it the ability. In WoW Classic, hunter pets have to be learnt from other pets in the world, so I have to tame a Strigid hunter that knows claw rank 2, and then I've got to kill things with it and level it up. It can take a while to do this, so I call it Temp and then kill my first Timberling and oh wait, we've learned it already, okay. But while I'm so far north, there is no point in me going all the way back. I might as well complete the task here with the owl. One of them had me basically tame another pet. Well, it wasn't our pet, it was called Mist, and it was really wounded and kidnapped by the Harpies. But we saved it and took it to the Sentinel. I mean, I would have kept Mist as a pet if you're just going to let it instantly run off into the wild again. You're not a very good owner, are you? We tell Sentinel that we've slain the Harpies and we give her the belts before saying we will deliver the report for her this time. And then as I entered the capital again, I only just realised that I forgot to do even more quests, and we're now told to go all the way back to the lake too. Getting in my weekly steps, that's for sure. Once I delivered the message, it was all the way back across the zone to go and put the lady to rest. However, the lady wasn't a lady, it was a giant grey spider. I got an invite off a rogue who tagged her and we both killed Lady Saffrath pretty easily. We looted her silvery spinnerets and headed back south. Now, because I was completely ignoring my pet's wishes as it was only temporary, it flew away from me. Yeah, if your pet stays unhappy, it will literally abandon you. Mid-fight too. Temp basically said, I'm done, screw you, and left. You was a good owl, Temp, but I'm already someone else's master. I tamed another owl and called it Temp 2 while I went to the last place of the Furbolgs, now Pine Hold. I'd basically slaughtered their entire population in Teldrassil, and the last person to take out was Ursol the Mauler. He hit really hard, but owl pets are actually really strong, and now I have a beast by my side. The power of the hunter class really does shine. It was nice to see the druids that had been captured fly off too, little things that I usually don't pay much attention to. However, I've never seen that flight form before, so I guess that these druids are cheating. We headed back to Dolonair, that always reminds me of Donna Kebab when I say it, and I speak to Aphrodis for the last time. Turning in the quest and having no task left for us. We take the long walk back to the capital, and all them quests I've been reading actually let me into the story of the Furbolgs, the corruption with the Felmoss and the tumors of the Timberlings, etc. So I'm happy that I slowed down, even if it is just a little bit. And as I got to Darnassus, I've only just realised after many years of playing World of Warcraft that the tree in the middle is a bear and an eagle. Always learning new things. There was only one thing left for us to do, and that was to take the mystical purple tent into the next village, where I also decided to go beast mastery, making my pet stronger. As we approach the shores of our world tree and we're ready to fly on a hippogriff to Kalimdor in search of more adventure, we've already accomplished so much, but we knew the world ahead of us would be dangerous. So like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you're new around here for more World of Warcraft videos, and I'll see you in the next one.